Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to make some chalk paint using just stuff you can find at the Dollar Tree mostly. So the Dollar Tree started carrying some apple barrel and plaid paints, so you're going to need some of that. You're going to also need some baking soda. This is from Walmart because it's actually cheaper at Walmart, but you can get it at the Dollar Tree. And then some empty jars. These used to have some cream of chip beef in there or whatever. I don't know, what do you call it? As long as they're airtight, right? So the formula for this chalk paint, and I know that chalk paint is a big thing now, farmhouse style, and I went on to Pinterest and I tried a few different recipes or formulas. I guess when you're mixing paint, it's formulas. But it's really 2 parts paint to 1 part of baking soda. So a lot of them tell you latex paint, and this paint says acrylic paint, but they are the same thing these days. There is no more latex. There's no more latex rubber in latex paint anymore. All of the latex paint that's labeled latex paint is really acrylic paint anyhow. When you get a craft paint, they usually have not a gloss finish, but not a matte finish, but somewhere in between, unless it's otherwise labeled. But if you can start with a matte finish, that's fine. It doesn't really make a difference. I have a little plunger, tablespoon, teaspoon measuring cup that I think is perfect for this. And since this paint is non-toxic, I can go ahead and use stuff that I would prepare food with as long as I clean it really well when I'm done. And I will. I hand washed it and ran it through the dishwasher. So what I'm doing in these jars for craft purposes is I don't want to make too much in case I don't use it fast enough. So for the white paint, I'm using 2 tablespoons of paint to 1 tablespoon of baking soda. And then you also may need a splash of water depending on, I guess it's depending on the thickness of your paint. So sometimes when you get a latex paint like a house paint, like a wall paint, if you go to get a sample at Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards, then that tends to be a little thicker than craft paint. Not always, it depends on who makes the craft paint. So sometimes you may have to thin it out just so it's a consistency that you can brush. And then because the baking soda does give that dry appearance, but it also does dry out paint a little bit. When I was looking at tutorials online, they had so many that compared what the different basically there's drying ingredients that cause it to be chalk paint. There's plaster of Paris you could use sanded grout or baking soda, and I felt that in side-by-side comparisons you couldn't really tell all that much difference. Now I can't promise you that they'll wear the same, and if you want to use this chalk paint for something like a furniture, you want to go ahead and make sure you add the furniture wax to it to protect it. But you know, for our craft purposes, what I do with it, I don't really care. You know, I've mentioned it before, that worn look adds to the farmhouse appeal anyway. So the other paint that I have, I'm going to try to make something close to burlap as possible. What it is I ended up doing is 3 tablespoons of white paint to 1 tablespoon of teddy bear brown is actually the name of it. But it was basically just a light brown with, this one actually had a little bit too much, in my opinion. It was just a little, okay, maybe, okay, let me start over. For you guys who aren't familiar with colors, that the tones all have undertones. So basically, you can have a brown that has a yellow undertone, and you can have a brown that has a blue undertone. You can have a brown that has a red undertone. So the burlap look is sort of a brown that I feel is a brown with a yellow undertone. This one is just a brown with a little bit red, possibly towards the blue undertone. So it isn't exactly like burlap, but it's pretty close. So I'm making sure that I mix it up. I'm using popsicle sticks. I mean, you can use whatever you want. I'm just showing you the color on the end there, and I'm pretty satisfied with the color. You can look through the jar and you can see how it's mixing. Make sure you get all of the white. So what I did was I mixed the color first before I added the baking soda. I just thought that that was important to make sure that I got even mixing of the color. With the white, it didn't make a difference. It just came out of the bottle white. But you can do this with any color. According to everything that I've read and from what I've experienced myself, it doesn't really change the colors, even though it's white baking soda. It's not going to make your pink a paler pink or your blue a paler blue. It's going to dissolve pretty much. But it's just going to add that chalky finish that we love on the farmhouse. All right, and with the recipe, because I added an extra tablespoon of white to the beige, I added a half a tablespoon more of baking soda to that, because like I said, you want it to be 2 parts paint to 1 part baking soda. Now when you're mixing it into white, it's a little hard to see that you've dissolved it properly, but you can kind of feel a little bit, you know. And then I pull the popsicle stick out from time to time to see if there's any dry patches on there, and there isn't, so that's good. But when you're mixing it into a color, it's pretty easy to see that you have no white streaks going through. All right, and I'll show you here in a second. I'm going to just add a couple of drops of water to each jar, just to help spread the paint out a little bit, thin the paint out a little bit, okay? Yeah, it's nice and evenly distributed, the baking soda. We're going to do 2 projects coming up tomorrow and the next day that both are going to use this chalk paint. So I don't know if you're interested in making it now for that or running out and getting the supplies to make it. Not everybody's Dollar Tree has apple barrel or plaid paints, craft paints, but in all honesty, they're cheaper at Walmart. This craft paint, small bottle of craft paint was 50 cents at Walmart. It's $1 at the Dollar Tree, but I wanted to show you that they are available at the Dollar Tree. And the same thing with the baking soda. You know, it's $1 at the Dollar Tree, but it's like 65 cents at Walmart. So I'm showing you that this is stuff that you can get there, but you don't have to get it there, okay? Some people don't have access to Walmart, and some people don't have the mobility to walk around a big store like Walmart. So be kind to those people. I overspilled my water. But then once I dropped a couple of drops in there, I mixed it up and it was good to go. And that is really it. Like I said, I don't know if you guys, I've mentioned this before, but I pretty much save just about every jar and cover that comes off the assembly line. The decorative ones I use for decorative purposes, as you've seen in my office tutorial. But sometimes I just keep jars like this for utilitarian purposes. And because if this paint didn't work out, or if it dries out really, really quickly, then it can go in the garbage and I'm fine with it. But they are airtight for the most part, which is great. You can snap them back on and then they're good to go. I wanted to label them, so I used my chalk paint, no pun intended, my chalk paint pen, the one that is not a dry erase, but it's a wet erase. Because if I go to repurpose these jars for something else, then I can go ahead and I can relabel them. All right, but you can label them any way you want to. I just wanted to make sure that I remembered that that's what's in these jars. And that's it, everybody. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you're going to try to make your own chalk paint. I really would really like to know how everybody does. And leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share with friends and family, anybody who may be interested in making their own chalk paint. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe. When you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever we upload a new video. Now, see you next time for these DIYs. Don't forget to make your chalk paint. As always, take care. God bless. See you next time. Bye. And here is a preview into a project, but I wanted to show you up close what the chalk paint looks like when it's done. I realized I wasn't showing you that, and that's kind of silly. That's just where I put my finger in while it was wet. But as you can see, it does have that beautiful chalky finish, that, rustic farmhouse look that we're always trying to go for, and we love chalk paint. And it painted over plastic, terracotta, acrylic, and more plastic. Okay?